What's up guys, I'm Brian, this is Tech Therapy. Thank you so much for joining me. There really isn't anything else to say other than, ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce Sony and their 2025 TV lineup. Thank you so much for watching. All right, guys, let's do it. Today is finally the day Sony reveals its 2025 TV lineup. We're going to start right at the top with the Sony BRAVIA 8 Mark II, which is a quantum dot OLED. The BRAVIA 8 Mark II has the latest 4th gen quantum dot OLED panel. It is the true successor to the A95L. We have two sizes available for the BRAVIA 8 Mark II. We have 55 and 65. The 77-inch will actually be the A95L. Now, the demo material you're seeing I shot while I was in Japan. It's movies from Sony Pictures. I'll get as much footage to you as possible. We're going to see with the 4th gen quantum dot OLED is brighter, more color. Now, what I wish I could show you is the comparisons to the competition. It wasn't really about brightness. It was really more about detail and how the BRAVIA 8 Mark II not only was brighter than the competition, had more color than the competition, but the detail that was missing on the displays that it was compared to was eye-opening. That is something that I wish I could have shot for you guys. It really shows what the XR cognitive processor is capable of. Not only is it XR clear, not only is it upscaling, you have the XR Triluminous Max, the XR Contrast Booster, you have the focal point analysis. A lot of this shows up when you look at them compared to other displays of the same technology or of a competing technology. You can see where the detail is actually lost, whether it's in mountainsides. These are films, these aren't demo materials that we were seeing compared. I wish I could bring that footage to you. It was much more impressive, and I think you'd be very impressed with what the BRAVIA 8 Mark II can accomplish. Now, being very honest, the lack of a 77-inch BRAVIA Mark II is puzzling to me. The A95L, in theory, is a Gen 2 quantum dot OLED, which puts anyone looking for a 77-inch or 83-inch OLED in no man's land, not just for their quantum dot OLEDs or for anyone looking for a WOLED. That means the BRAVIA 8 carries over, which does have a 77-inch, but doesn't have an 83-inch. So I'd like to have seen at least a 77-inch BRAVIA 8 Mark II, or at least a WOLED at 83. Up next, we have the Sony BRAVIA 5, which is the successor to the very popular Sony X90L. Like the X90L, this is the starting point for the XR cognitive processor. Unlike the X90L, we are not just an LED, we are now into mini LED. We have 55-inch, 65-inch, 75, 85, and now a new 98-inch size available. Which makes sense, as the X92 was Sony's first ultra-large TV, followed by the X90L. Now we have the BRAVIA 5 at 98 inches, which I'll show you momentarily. Again, we're looking at footage from Sony Pictures when I was in Japan. What you're not seeing is the comparisons that I saw when I was in Manhattan at a separate event, seeing again the shadow detail and the local dimming versus the competition. The BRAVIA 5 was very impressive, especially at the price point that it will launch at. Much like the X90L, this is where performance meets value. But other than the upgrade to mini LED, we now have the backlight master drive taking over the local dimming, which did make a huge difference in the comparisons that I saw to the competition. Now, naming the competition from both the Bravia 8 Mark II and the Bravia 5 is not important. It was the fact that it outperformed everything that it was put beside, and we were able to see the settings of every display that was there. Sony's signature in regards to LEDs and mini LEDs will always be accuracy and shadow detail first and foremost. With that said, in the X90 lineup, typically what you would have is a bit more blooming due to allowing that shadow detail and having less zones. Moving to mini LED and now having the backlight master drive, that is no longer an issue. The local dimming is now excellent while still retaining that shadow detail, HDR impact, and accuracy. Now, where the Bravia 5 fits in is actually just below the Bravia 7, which is returning from last year, and the flagship Bravia 9. So now you have 3 mini LEDs, starting with the Bravia 5, having the XR cognitive processor all the way up to the flagship Bravia 9. In sizes, you will have the Bravia 7 at 55, 65, 75, and 85, and then for the Bravia 9, 65, 75, and 85. So that is their mini LED lineup going forward. Personally, I would like to have seen a larger Bravia 9 be 100 inches. I am happy there is a 98-inch Bravia 5. However, the competition is now all rocking 100 inches, and they are all using their flagships. I would love to have seen Sony take the Bravia 9 and move that up to at least 100 inches. But again, I'm very happy to have the Bravia 5 be mini LED and also have a 98-inch version. Speaking of 98 inches, here is the Bravia 5 at 98 inches. This is a gorgeous monster of a mini LED. Now, we were all in this room together. The lighting wasn't great. In a little while, I'll actually reach over and take the bulb out of that lamp to the left. But I love seeing the 98-inch Bravia 5 with the rest of the lineup. Typically, the X92, which was the first giant or ultra-large TV from Sony, and the X90L at a larger size were released far later than the rest of the lineup, always held apart. You see, off-angle viewing is excellent, and the local dimming is also phenomenal. Checking the black bars, which are in inky black, and we also check the build quality of the 98-inch Bravia 5. Now, in this point of the video, these are the 2 big heavy hitters in Sony's new 2025 TV lineup. Again, you have the Bravia 8 Mark II Quantum Dot OLED at 55 and 65. You also have the Bravia 5 at 55, 65, 75, 85, and 98 inch. What are your thoughts on the lineup, as we are also carrying over the Bravia 7 and the Bravia 9 from last year, as well as the A95L Quantum Dot OLED at 77 inches? I would love to hear your thoughts and feedback in the comments, and a special shout out to all of you that watch these videos live. Love you guys in the community. Let me know honestly what you think of Sony's choices this year. We also saw that in the future, at least next year, you will see an RGB mini LED, which we call the Bravia 10. As we check the build quality on the Bravia 5, showing you a bit more of the design of the 98-inch. Now, back to your honest feedback. Please leave detailed comments on what you think of the lineup and also what you think of the launch and Sony's strategy. Sony really is the only company that we have encountered that really cares a great deal about what you guys think, not what we think, but what our communities think, what their customers think. They're the only company that actually has a customer service channel, Sony Direct, with Derek and Larry, who actually take the time to work with customers. So share your feedback in the comments and be as detailed and thorough as possible. They will read them. They do take it to heart. As we take a look at the Bravia 9, and also next to that is the Bravia 8 Mark II. To the right of that is the Bravia 7, and then the 65-inch Bravia 5 in the corner. But there we look at the Bravia 9 flagship. I believe that is a 75-inch. Yep, it's 75. Just seeing them side by side, the Bravia 9 is phenomenal and continues to improve with updates. Same with the Bravia 7. So their lineup that does carry over, and by the way, Sony carrying over displays is nothing new. They did that for many years with the Master Series. So what you're seeing is them continuing to improve the performance on their TVs, be it the X90L, but primarily with the Bravia 7 and the Bravia 9. They're still getting updates quite often to improve picture quality. Now, lastly, we're moving into the Bravia 2 Mark II. Now, you guys will find it strange that there is a Mark II version of the Bravia 2. The Bravia 2 was a display from last year that was only in Europe and now is here in the US. It'll sit just below the very popular and top-selling entry-level Bravia 3. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to capture any footage of the Bravia 2 Mark II in Japan. They did do side-by-side comparisons with like-priced models in Manhattan. Of course, I couldn't film that for you, but I was very impressed with the Bravia 2 and its upscaling and picture quality, considering it doesn't have the XR cognitive processor. Still did very well, and again, is going to be a tremendous value for anyone looking to get into a Sony TV this year. Now, in closing, we'll walk around the room and show you the entire 2025 TV lineup. Now, I understand this is what Sony is looking to do, is combine their new lineup with last year's, creating one cohesive TV lineup. You see the Bravia 9, which is the true mini LED flagship, now sitting next to the Bravia 8 Mark II, which is the QD OLED flagship. There you see the Bravia 7, 75 inches, and then you're seeing the 65-inch Bravia 5. So seeing the Bravia 7 and the Bravia 5, again, they're looking at it in its totality as being a very complete lineup. They have very few new models, but they had excellent models last year. They will continue to update the Bravia 7 and the Bravia 9. So altogether, between last year and this year, it is a very impressive TV lineup. Like many of you, I was hoping for more updates and newer models, but this is how the industry is going. And Sony has a stronger belief in their engineers to where they'll continue to update models from the past and make them current. I don't think they see the reason to have incremental upgrades if they can do it through software updates. Now, while Sony does have a 3-year plan with their Cinema Home or bringing Cinema Home initiative, that doesn't mean that these other displays here won't be updated next year when you do see the RGB mini LED arrive. So again, in closing, from top to bottom, Sony's 2025 official TV lineup is the Sony Bravia 9 Mini LED, the Sony Bravia 8 Mark II Quantum Dot OLED. That will be the two flagships. Then you have the Sony Bravia 7, the Sony Bravia 5, the Sony Bravia 3, and the Sony Bravia 2 Mark II. That is the complete lineup, with the Sony A95L QD OLED at 77 inches carrying over. I'll also say that the Sony Bravia 8 also carries over, as it is the only W OLED that is available from Sony now, and the Bravia 8 was excellent. For 83 inches, the Sony A80L will also still carry over. Still being updated to this day. I'm Brian, this is Tech Therapy. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing. Love you guys. Take care.